I stood at the back of our family's corporate boardroom, watching my sister Victoria command the attention of everyone present. Her perfectly manicured hands gestured gracefully as she detailed her vision for our family's international business empire. The empire our grandfather built from nothing. The empire I had quietly been protecting for the last 5 years. As the new CEO of Harrison International, Victoria's voice carried across the room with practiced authority. I promised to lead us into a new era of unprecedented growth. Her eyes met mine briefly, a flash of smug satisfaction crossing her face. Some of us were born to lead, while others, well, they're just spare parts. The room erupted in polite laughter. Our father, James Harrison, sitting at the head of the table, didn't even try to hide his proud smile. Mother, elegant as always in her designer suit, nodded approvingly. The board members, most of them family friends who'd known us since childhood, chuckled along. I remained silent, my tablet tucked under my arm, containing the real truth about our family's $1.5 billion empire. Victoria had always been the golden child, the face of Harrison International, while I worked in the shadows, managing our technology division and global security networks. She was the glamorous CEO material. I was the quiet tech expert who couldn't handle the pressure of real business. And of course, Victoria continued, her smile sharp as a knife. We'll be streamlining our management structure. Some positions will become redundant. Her eyes fixed on me again. The board has already approved these changes. I knew what was coming. I'd seen the emails, the secret meetings, the carefully orchestrated plan to push me out of the company. What Victoria didn't know was that I'd seen them months ago, when she first started plotting with our parents to take complete control. Michael, our father's voice cut through my thoughts. Your sister has shown exceptional leadership qualities. The board agrees that having too many family members in executive positions sends the wrong message to our shareholders. I nodded, my face carefully blank. Of course, father. I understand completely. Victoria's smile widened. I'm glad you're being reasonable about this, little brother. We'll make sure you're comfortable. She picked up a document from the table. We've prepared a very generous severance package. $5 million, plus some shares in our smaller subsidiaries. $5 million, for my birthright, for my years of work securing and expanding our international network, for the countless nights I spent protecting our assets while Victoria attended charity galas and posed for magazine covers. That's very generous, I said softly, watching Victoria's triumph grow with each word. When would you like me to clear out my office? Today would be best. Mother spoke up, her voice carrying that familiar tone of disapproval. We've already appointed a new head of technology. He'll need to get started immediately. I pulled out my tablet, making a show of checking my calendar. Would midnight be acceptable? I have some projects to wrap up. Victoria waved her hand dismissively. Fine, fine. Just make sure everything is properly handed over. We can't have any disruptions to our operations. If only she knew. The meeting concluded with handshakes and congratulations. All for Victoria, of course. I stayed in my corner, watching the performance unfold. Board members patted her back and praised her vision, while our parents beamed with pride. No one even glanced in my direction. As people filed out, Victoria approached me, her designer heels clicking on the marble floor. Don't take it personally, Michael. You're just not cut out for this world. Better to accept it now than embarrass yourself trying to prove otherwise. I met her gaze steadily. You're probably right. I was never good at the whole corporate politics thing. She patted my shoulder condescendingly. Exactly. Leave that to those of us who understand real business. You can go back to playing with your computers. If she noticed the slight smile that crossed my face, she didn't show it. Victoria had always underestimated me, seeing only what she wanted to see. The awkward younger brother who preferred coding to networking, who chose to work with systems rather than people. I spent the rest of the day in my office, appearing to pack up my belongings. In reality, I was watching the final pieces of my plan fall into place. My tablet showed real-time updates from our offices across the globe. Hong Kong, London, Dubai, Singapore. Each location quietly confirmed that the protocols were ready. At 6 p.m., Victoria stuck her head into my office. Still here? Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Michael. I looked up from my tablet, just making sure everything transitioned smoothly. Wouldn't want any technical issues disrupting your big moment. She rolled her eyes. Always so dramatic. Just remember to hand over all access codes and security protocols before you leave. We can't have any loose ends." "Of course," I replied. "Everything will be exactly where it needs to be by midnight." Victoria left, probably heading to some exclusive restaurant to celebrate her victory. I turned back to my tablet, checking the time. 6 hours until midnight in Hong Kong, where our Asian operations will be starting their day. At 11:30 p.m., I sat in my office for the last time, watching the security feeds. Victoria was still in her office, probably planning her next power move. Our parents had long since gone home, secure in their decision to back their favorite child. At 11:45 p.m., I initiated the first sequence. Deep in our servers, programs I'd spent years perfecting began their work. Not destroying. I would never damage what our grandfather built, but transferring, protecting, securing. At 11:55 p.m., I sent one final email to our family's private server. "Dear Victoria, congratulations on your promotion. I look forward to seeing how you handle real business. Best regards, Michael." At midnight, exactly as the Hong Kong office was opening for business, everything changed. Victoria's office phone rang first. I watched on the security feed as she answered it, her triumphant smile fading into confusion, then shock, then fury. She slammed the phone down, grabbed her mobile, and started making calls. But every call told her the same thing. Access denied. New ownership protocols in effect. The system lockouts cascaded across the globe. London, Dubai, Singapore. Every major office reported the same status. Ownership transferred, new protocols active, previous authorizations invalid. I watched as Victoria frantically tried to log into her executive account, only to find it restricted. Her master key cards, the ones she had made with such ceremony, stopped working. Even the building's elevator refused to respond to her commands. The security feeds showed her running through the building, trying every access point, making call after call. But the truth was already spreading through our international network. Harrison International had a new controlling owner, and it wasn't Victoria Harrison. My phone buzzed. A message from our head office in Hong Kong. New ownership protocols confirmed. Awaiting your instructions, Mr. Harrison. I smiled, remembering all the times Victoria had mocked my obsession with our technology infrastructure. All the times she dismissed my suggestions about digital security and international networks. All the times she told me to leave the real business to her. Another message flashed across my screen, this one from our lawyers in Switzerland, confirming the ownership transfer was complete and legal. The documents I'd spent months preparing, all signed and authenticated by our grandfather before his death, were now active. Victoria burst into my office, her perfect composure shattered. "What did you do?" she screamed, waving her useless phone. "Hong Kong says everything's locked. London won't answer my calls. Dubai says there's a new owner." I stood slowly, picking up my tablet. "I believe you called it playing with computers. Fascinating thing about modern business. It's all digital now. Networks, protocols, security systems, real business, you might say." "Fix this," she demanded. "Fix it right now, or I'll." "You'll what?" I asked quietly. "Call security." "Their systems answer to me now." "Call our lawyers. They're already confirming the change in ownership." "Call our parents. They should be getting the news right about now." On cue, both our phones lit up with calls from our father. Victoria grabbed hers immediately, but only got an automated message about unauthorized access. "What exactly did you do?" she whispered, fear finally creeping into her voice. I held up my tablet, showing her the document that had just gone live across all our systems. Grandfather's real will. The one he prepared with me in secret 2 years ago. The one that gives me controlling interest in Harrison International, effective the moment someone tried to force me out of the company. Victoria's face went pale. "That's impossible. The will was read months ago. Everything went to me." "That was the public will," I corrected her. "The one you and our parents pushed through while I stayed quiet. But grandfather knew this day would come. He knew exactly who had been protecting his legacy and who had been exploiting it." "You're lying," she hissed, but her hands were shaking. I swiped through more documents on my tablet. Hong Kong assets transferred. London operations secured. Dubai holdings protected. The entire international network built by me over the last 5 years, now officially under my control. I looked up at her. "Would you like to see the numbers?" I know how much you love real business. Victoria staggered back, grabbing the doorframe for support. This will destroy the company. You can't just take control like this. Actually, I can. And I already have. I stepped around my desk. But unlike you, I don't believe in throwing away valuable assets. You can keep your position as CEO. You're good at the public face of business, I'll give you that. But from now on, you'll answer to me. And if you ever try to move against me again. I let the threat hang in the air as my phone buzzed with another message from Hong Kong. All international transfers complete. Systems secured. Awaiting your first board meeting as chairman, Mr. Harrison. Victoria's phone lit up with a calendar invite, board meeting, 9 a.m. Hong Kong time, attendance mandatory. Her new restricted access level was clearly displayed at the bottom of the invitation. You should get some rest, I said, walking past her frozen form. It's going to be a busy day tomorrow. Lots of real business to discuss. As I reached the elevator, which opened immediately for me, I heard Victoria's scream of rage echo through the empty building. But it didn't matter anymore. The quiet brother, the spare part, the one who played with computers, had just shown everyone what real business truly meant in the modern world. My phone buzzed one final time, a message from a private number I hadn't seen in months. Well done, grandson. I knew you'd protect what I built. Give your sister time, she might learn something from this. I smiled as I stepped into the night air. Grandfather had always seen what others missed. He'd understood that in today's world, true power didn't lie in boardroom speeches or magazine covers. It lay in the networks, the systems, the digital foundations that kept everything running. Victoria had wanted to play business. I had quietly built an empire. And this was just the beginning. The next morning arrived with chaos erupting across 3 continents. I sat in my new chairman's office, watching it unfold on multiple screens. Victoria hadn't gone home. Security footage showed her making frantic calls all night, her perfect appearance crumbling with each failed attempt to regain control. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. First came the lawyers, then the board members, and finally, the call I'd been expecting, our parents. Michael, my father's voice was tight with barely controlled rage. What have you done? I leaned back in my chair, watching the Hong Kong market react positively to the overnight change in leadership. Our shares were up 12% already. Good morning, Father. I assume you've seen the notifications from our legal team. This is absurd, he exploded. Your grandfather would never. Actually, I cut in smoothly, he did. Would you like me to send you the video of him signing the documents, or perhaps the 3 years of private correspondence where we planned this transition? Silence. Then my mother's voice, cold and calculating. What do you want? I smiled, remembering all the times she dismissed my achievements, pushed me aside for Victoria. Want? I already have what I want. Grandfather's legacy is secured. Our international network is protected, and our share price is soaring. The real question is, what do you want? We want our company back, Father roared. Our company? I pulled up some interesting financial records on my screen. You mean the company you nearly bankrupted 3 times with poor investments? The one Victoria was planning to split up and sell to the highest bidders? I'd pause, letting that sink in. Those records make for fascinating reading. By the way, Grandfather kept very detailed notes. More silence. I could almost see them exchanging worried glances. The board will never accept this, Mother finally said. The board already has. Check your emails. They're quite impressed with the security measures I've implemented and the strategic partnerships I've been quietly building. Did Victoria ever mention our new technology contracts in Singapore? No? Shame. They're worth about $300 million. A notification popped up on my screen. Victoria had finally given up trying to override the security systems and was heading to the main conference room for the emergency board meeting. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a board meeting to chair. You're welcome to attend, remotely of course. Your new access levels should be in your updated contracts. New contracts? Father's voice cracked. We're your parents. Yes, I agreed, and now you're minority shareholders with standard voting rights. Welcome to real business. I ended the call and turned my attention to the conference room feed. Victoria sat alone at the massive table, her usual elegant poise replaced by barely concealed fury. One by one, board members appeared on the video screens around her. None had bothered to come in person. I waited until exactly 9 a.m. Hong Kong time before entering. Victoria's head snapped up, her eyes blazing. "You won't get away with this," she hissed. "I already have." I took my seat at the head of the table, her former position. "Shall we begin?" The next hour was a masterclass in corporate restructuring. I outlined the company's new direction, highlighting the technology initiatives I'd been developing in secret, projects that would transform Harrison International from a traditional conglomerate into a global technology leader. Victoria sat silently, watching as board member after board member praised the vision, approved the new structure, and congratulated me on my innovative leadership. "And now," I said as the presentation concluded, "for our final item of business, the position of CEO." Victoria straightened in her chair, chin lifting defiantly. "Despite recent events," I continued, "my sister has shown considerable skill in managing our public image and maintaining key client relationships." I met her surprised gaze. "I see no reason to change her position, provided she understands her new reporting structure." The board members nodded approvingly. Victoria's mouth opened, then closed, confusion replacing anger for a moment. Unless, of course, she preferred to step down. I raised an eyebrow. "With a suitable severance package, naturally. Say $5 million. She flinched at her own words being thrown back at her. "I'll stay," she said through gritted teeth. "Excellent." I smiled. "I look forward to working together." Meeting adjourned. As the video screens went dark, Victoria remained seated, staring at me with a mix of hatred and something else, perhaps respect. "Why?" she finally asked. "Why not just fire me?" I gathered my tablet and stood. "Because unlike you, I understand the value of family, even family that disappoints us." I headed for the door, then paused. "Oh, and Victoria, your new office is on the 3rd floor. I believe you know the one, next to the IT department you always said was a waste of space." As I walked away, I heard her laugh, a short, bitter sound that carried a hint of admiration. My phone buzzed again, another message from grandfather's private number. Phase 1 complete. Ready for Phase 2. I smiled, thinking of the other changes I had planned. Victoria's power play had simply accelerated my timeline. The quiet brother was quiet no more, and Harrison International would never be the same. 3 months after the takeover, I sat in my office reviewing the latest financial reports. Our stock had risen 40%, international operations were running smoother than ever, and our new technology initiatives were making headlines across Asia and Europe. Victoria, surprisingly, had adapted to her new role with grudging professionalism. She still glared at me during meetings, but she couldn't deny the success we were achieving. Her office next to it had even started to look lived in, though she'd redecorated it with her usual expensive taste. A knock on my door interrupted my thoughts. "Come in." Mother walked in, looking less polished than usual. The past months had taken their toll on her carefully maintained facade. "We need to talk about your father." I set down my tablet. "Is he still refusing to sign the new shareholder agreement?" She sank into a chair, suddenly looking older. He's not well, Michael. This change, losing control, it's broken something in him." I pulled up the security feed from our family estate. Father sat in his study, staring at nothing, a half-empty whiskey bottle on his desk. He'd stopped coming to the office 2 weeks ago. "I'm aware," I said quietly. "I've been monitoring his condition." Mother's eyes flashed. "Monitoring? He's your father, not some security risk." "Isn't he?" I turned my screen, showing her the emails I'd intercepted. "He's been reaching out to our competitors, trying to arrange a hostile takeover. He's contacted journalists with false stories about corporate espionage. He's even tried to access restricted servers from his home office." She paled. "He wouldn't." "He did. And if he weren't my father, he'd be facing criminal charges." I leaned forward. "So tell me, Mother, why are you really here?" She smoothed her skirt, a nervous gesture I'd never seen before. "He needs help, Michael. Professional help. But we can't. With everything that's happened. You need money," I finished for her. "The new dividend structure isn't covering your expenses anymore." "We've lived a certain way for so long," she whispered. "Your father's private accounts are frozen, our credit lines are restricted, and the house is still in your name," I reminded her. I didn't take everything, unlike what Victoria planned to do. Mother flinched. "You know about that." "I know everything. I pulled up another file, including the fact that you and father have been selling company secrets to competitors for years. Did you think I wouldn't find out? She stood abruptly, panic crossing her face. That's not. We never. Save it. I held up a hand. I've already handled it. The information was outdated, the damage minimal. But it stops now. Or what? A hint of the old steel returned to her voice. Or I'll be forced to treat you as security risks rather than family. I met her gaze steadily. Your choice. Before she could respond, Victoria burst into the office. Michael, we have a situation. I nodded to Mother. We're done here. The new contracts are in your inbox. Sign them by tonight or the house goes on the market tomorrow. She left without another word, passing Victoria, who watched her go with an unreadable expression. That looked intense, my sister commented, closing the door. What's the situation? She hesitated, then handed me her tablet. Father tried to access the main servers again. But this time you left something behind. I scanned the report, feeling a chill. A virus. Crude but potentially devastating if it had reached our core systems. It contained it, Victoria continued. But now we have proof of attempted corporate sabotage, I finished, by our own father. What are you going to do? I studied her face. 3 months ago, she would have celebrated any chance to see me fail. Now she looked genuinely concerned. What would you do? I asked. She blinked, surprised. You're asking my opinion? You're still CEO. And despite everything, you understand family dynamics better than I do. Victoria sat down, frowning in thought. We can't ignore it. If this gets out, shareholders will panic. But if we act against him legally, the press would have a field day. I nodded. Son arrests father in corporate coup. There might be another way. She tapped her fingers on the desk. The Swiss clinic you mentioned last month. The private one. Rehabilitation center, I corrected. Very discreet, very expensive. Send them both, Victoria suggested. Mother and father. Call it an extended vacation. They get the help they need. We avoid a scandal, and the company stays protected. I leaned back, studying my sister. You've changed. She laughed softly. You gave me no choice. These past months, watching you transform everything. I've learned more about real business than I did in 10 years of playing CEO. And you hate every minute of it. I smiled. God, yes. She rolled her eyes. But I can't deny the results. We're stronger than ever, even with all this family drama. My phone buzzed. Grandfather's number again. Time for the final phase. Are you ready? Victoria caught the message before I could hide it. Is that grandfather? I hesitated, then decided she'd earned some truth. Yes, he's been monitoring the situation. He's alive, she whispered, her face draining of color. Very much so, and very interested in how we handle this latest crisis. Victoria sat back, processing this revelation. All this time, he was watching us. Testing us. Testing me, I corrected. He knew what you and our parents planned. He wanted to see if I could stop it. And now? I showed her the message. Now we finish what he started. Together, if you're willing. She stared at me for a long moment, then slowly nodded. What's the final phase? First, we help our parents. Then, I smiled. We show the world what Harrison International can really do. Victoria returned the smile, and for the first time in years, I saw my sister instead of my rival. Lead the way, little brother. 1 year later, I stood on the helipad of our Hong Kong headquarters, watching the sunset paint the city skyline in gold. Behind me, Victoria was wrapping up a video call with our parents at the Swiss clinic. They sound better, she said, joining me at the railing. Father's actually talking about retirement instead of revenge. Mother started painting again. I nodded, checking my watch. Grandfather's helicopter should be here in 10 minutes. Victoria smoothed her dress nervously. I still can't believe he's been in Singapore this whole time, watching everything unfold. Building something new, I corrected. Wait until you see what he's been working on. The past year had transformed Harrison International. Our technology division had revolutionized Asian markets, our international network had expanded to 47 countries, and our market value had doubled. But more importantly, it had transformed our family. Victoria had thrown herself into learning the technical side of the business, spending hours with our development teams. She'd stopped playing politics and started building real relationships with our partners. The board now respected her for her abilities, not just her name. The sound of approaching rotors cut through the evening air. Victoria tensed beside me as the sleek black helicopter touched down. The door opened, and our grandfather stepped out, looking exactly as I remembered, tall, sharp-eyed, and carrying his signature leather briefcase. "Well," he said, walking toward us, "you two have certainly been busy." Victoria started to speak, but no words came out. Grandfather smiled kindly at her. "Come here, both of you." He opened his arms, and for the first time in decades, we were embraced as a family. "I'm sorry," Victoria whispered against his shoulder. "I was so wrong about everything." "No," Grandfather pulled back, looking at her intently. "You were exactly who you needed to be. You pushed Michael to act, to prove himself. And now look at what you've built together." He turned to me. "The final phase is ready. Shall we show your sister?" I nodded, pulling out my tablet. With a few taps, I brought up the blueprints for Project Legacy, Grandfather's vision for the future of Harrison International. Victoria gasped as she saw the scale of it. A complete digital transformation of global finance built on the framework I've been quietly developing. The technology we've been testing in Asia was just the beginning. She shook her head in amazement. "This will change everything." "It already has," Grandfather said softly. "Look at your parents, healing instead of plotting. Look at you two, working together instead of competing. The company was never the real test. Family was." He opened his briefcase and pulled up 2 envelopes. "Your new contracts. Equal partners, both of you. Michael will continue as chairman, Victoria as CEO, and I'll stay on as an advisor until you're ready." Victoria took her envelope with trembling hands. "Why didn't you tell us your plan from the beginning?" Grandfather smiled. "Would you have learned anything if I had?" The sun had fully set now, leaving the city glittering below us like a sea of stars. In the distance, Victoria's old office light still burned. She'd kept it as a reminder of how far we'd come. "Mother and Father want to come home for Christmas," she said quietly. "Do we let them?" I looked at Grandfather, who nodded encouragingly. "Yes, I decided. But this time we do it right. As a real family." Victoria linked her arm through mine, something she hadn't done since we were children. The spare parts turned out to be the most important ones, didn't they? "They always are," Grandfather said, placing a hand on each of our shoulders. "Now shall we discuss how you're going to change the world?" As we walked inside to our new shared office, I caught Victoria smiling, not her old practiced smile, but something genuine and warm. The quiet brother and the golden child had finally found their balance, and Harrison International was stronger for it. Sometimes I realize the best revenge isn't destruction, it's transformation.